Coming to you live from the NowMedia newsroom.
There you go. Canadians' borrowing requirements will begin to exceed the maximum of $2.1 trillion by 26-27, and that'll require amending the Borrowing Authority Act. Well, hey, those are small numbers, right? But, you know, the good news, though, the Canadian economy, expanded by 2% in July. That's the first sign of growth in 4 months, so 2%. So they might revise that up and down. And most of that activity was from mining and quarrying and oil and gas. Imagine that. Our resource sector. We say that how many times? It's our resource sector. That's Canada's jewel, is it not? But here's Starbucks.
Well, I mean, there are other things, but there's nothing that compares. It's like every country has their, like you say, their jewel, and that is Canada's jewel for sure.
So this is becoming a luxury for Canadians. Starbucks is cutting jobs at 900 jobs and closing stores. Because, nobody can afford to pay $9 for a coffee. But Dollarama is doing well, right, in Canada. Dollarama doing well. Another bad news for you here, Investa is closing the Eastern Ontario plant and shifting production to Victoria. Not Victoria, BC, Victoria, Texas. There you go. Another manufacturer moving operation.
I was reading about that, and it's very sad because it's right next to the US border, next to New York, on the Ontario-New York border, and jobs aren't plentiful around that neck of the woods. So it's a very sad situation.
And then here's the stock, and then I didn't update this, but this is the stock of Canada. It's the currency. But one thing you have to recognize, you know who the worst performing currency is in the G7 this year? Want to take a guess at that? Take a stab at it?
It's got to be that stupid US dollar and those stupid Americans.
Nope. Want to take another guess?
Elbows. Get those elbows up, Jim. Come on.
Yeah, it's the Canadian dollar. It's the worst performing currency this year. And it's down again today at 71.73. It looks like it wants to go down now. Breaks that 70-cent mark, and it's going to drop a bit, right? But look at the overall trend in that dollar. That's a 5-year chart. That's a 5-year chart.
Looking like a dead cat bounce there, isn't it?
Who's responsible for this?
Justin Trudeau, perhaps. Some might say.
Liberals. And then we already talked about this, that the budget office is... and then we know that the U.S. economy is going the other way. We'll kind of leave that. And that's really... I just want to leave you with that one chart there. Let's just put that one chart up there. That's the one from Pierre. No, keep going. Next one. Nope, next one. There you go. Somebody wants to tell you how good Mark Carney is. Just to explain this to me. Explain it to me like I'm stupid.
It's deindustrialization, isn't it? Although he would say, look, I only became Prime Minister 5 minutes ago. Even though, of course, he was an advisor to the Liberal Party during some of this time here where we see the line go down.
He did sign that deal with Indonesia that's going to be, a powerhouse by 2050.
And Indonesia, it is an up-and-coming economy for sure, but that's the place that you would send. That's the place you would send your, to offshore. You would offshore in Indonesia, so that you could manufacture more cheaply. That's kind of out of fashion these days, isn't it? And that certainly wouldn't help this chart. If anything, it would help it go down even further.
It wouldn't help the Canadian worker. No, it would not. Unless we are.
But it seems like Carney, like I said, Carney, last century's man in so many ways. He seems to, and they all do. They all seem to look back with fondness on peak globalization, and they look at this era as being really depressing and bad and worse. So obviously, if that's the case, they are going to want to look at offshoring places like Indonesia, because that's what everybody did back when someone like Mark Carney was at the forefront of ideas.
I think what people need to do is either A, listen to us and help us share this message, because they took away our audience at 200,000. by kneecapping independent media in Canada and then filling the trough for the CBC. So if you like this message and you understand it, but I also advise you to go listen to the messages from when they stand at the podium, when Mark Carney stands at the UN. They're speaking to their people. They're not filtered by they're trying to win a vote there. They're speaking to their own peeps in that room. Go listen to Mark Carney there, Albanese. Go listen to them and speak in that room. And then go listen to Donald Trump speak in that room. Donald Trump spoke for America in that room. He wasn't trying to appease anybody. If anything, he was probably irritating most of the world. He was irritating because Albanese, all he did was attack Trump in that speech. But then ask yourself, do you want somebody that looks after the interests of Canadians? Or do you want somebody that looks after the interests of this global world order? Where I think Mark Carney has doled up $400 million in the last few days to Gaza and Haiti and a few other places. And $4.5 billion that has been doled out to Ukraine in this restructuring or rebuilding of Ukraine. And then the disgrace now, Chrystia Freeland, is going to be the one that manages that bag of cash with no oversight because they said they can't release where that money goes.
National security is at stake. Not our national security, of course, but it's another country's national security.
Yeah. Seems like a hell of a gig, no? How do you put your name in for that gig? How do you put your name in for that gig?
That's you have to serve a very long internship, I think, don't you? Improve yourself before you get that sort of gig. But yeah, the contrast is astonishing, and historians in the future, if we have such things, guaranteed they'll be looking at that speech that Trump made and contrasting it with the likes of Carney's speech.
Don't listen to it.
Because we're in a period of divergence here, aren't we? Where things are going to change one way or another, and we're kind of right in the middle of it right now, though.
Use your common sense. Do this to the mainstream media. Close it out. Tell you that he's the devil and all these things. Go listen to that speech. Go listen to Albanese now, and then go listen to Mark Carney. Go listen to those speeches. Go listen, just with no preconceptions. Listen to that speech, and then ask yourself where you are as a Canadian, and where you want to be, and which speech resonates with the people, and which one doesn't. Just do it. Just listen.
But what's very interesting is look at the provincial level as well, and look at how a lot of premiers speak now, like David Eby, our precious David Eby there. He uses a lot of this language, but instead of a nation being in question, it's the province, isn't it? It's like going to do what's best for British Columbians. I'm going to, it's, and when he says he's opposed to the migrant worker scheme, it's like, it's all about British Columbians. And yet he is very much on the left. And you would think if he was in federal politics, he would speak like Mark Carney. It's kind of, it's everywhere. And it's kind of, you have to ask what is going on with this quite obvious contrast. But even Mark Carney uses that language, doesn't he? Obviously, with the Canada strong and elbows up and we'll be masters in our own home and all that kind of thing.
Well, that's the audience. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to listen to him when he's speaking to his peeps, right? Because that room is full of his peeps, right? When he's at the podium here in Canada, he wraps himself in the flag as a nationalist, right? And he says elbows up, strong Canada, blah, 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 right? But when he's in that room, you're seeing more a glimpse of who these people are than you are when you're seeing him speak here at home. Because he's speaking, because that room is their peeps, right? Like that group, they've traveled together. I mean, at Davos and all these other places, they're kind of in that room. That's the room. And again, you look at the response from Anita Anand there like a seal, right? Like, you've seen that display. Like, I mean, if you have any kind of like understanding of human psychology, and you just watched what was going on in that room there.
And another example of what you're saying there, just to highlight it, when he was in London there, that speech, you can watch it. It's all over the place. You can watch it in full. He talked about the carbon tax, and he said the carbon tax was a good policy. That's a quote. That's what he said to his people there. Would he ever say that, do you think, here? Would he ever say that in the House of Commons or something like that? That's something that what he says now when he's speaking to a Canadian audience is, it was too divisive, so we cut that to make life more affordable for Canadians. But when he's in London and he's surrounded by his chums, it's a good policy.
So Give Me Liberty says, I still had no idea what Carney was talking about in that clip we played yesterday. Yeah, that was the point. But what he was saying is he's going to transfer debt from institutions into strong hands, which means, in banker term, long-term debt holders, which you could surmise to be governments. So the governments are gonna make good on all these ESG loans that were made by these institutions that are basically garbage. What I mean, called junk bonds almost. And then they might be made whole by you. Again, like Iain says, they're pulling the rabbit ears out of your pockets and trying to shake it there. And they might have to take some off your ribs, right? Because there's nothing left in your pockets.
They might have to sell your kidney.
Yeah, there you go. Transfer wealth is real. And then just listen, though. Use your common sense. Just start listening and start using your voice. Start listening. And then just asking yourself, why isn't the CBC and CTV not covering the scandal with Freeland, the scandal with Gary, the public safety? And why aren't these being covered? Why is the budget not being covered with scrutiny? This Gary, what's his last name? Adrasan, or I can't pronounce his last name, but
Ananda Sangari. Got to memorize that one.
There you go. And then why that isn't being picked at like vultures. Like media should be on like that, vultures, but nothing. And then the pipeline one, where's all that? That vote on the pipeline, the emissions cap, should be a massive story, because even Jean Chrétien stood up saying he's going to build pipelines. That emissions cap is basically one of the tells that shows up again. No matter how you mask it, that was a massive tell.